TikTok users were in for a surprise last night when the app temporarily shut down, only to return today with a notification reading, "Thanks for your patience and support." As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US. You can continue to create, share, and discover all the things you love on TikTok. On the surface, this seems like a triumphant moment for Trump, positioning him as a savior of the platform. However, the subtext here is far more complex. The shutdown and subsequent revival were outcomes of Trump's own actions, which initially targeted TikTok for a ban back in 2020. This narrative conveniently omits Trump's role in creating the problem he's now taking credit for solving. The saga began 3 years ago when Trump expressed his intention to ban TikTok, citing national security concerns over its parent company, ByteDance, a Chinese firm. Trump's rhetoric included statements like, "We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. We gave them until September 15th. After that, they've got to close shop." These statements culminated in an executive order banning transactions between ByteDance and U.S. citizens, effectively outlawing TikTok in the United States. This move was justified on national security grounds, with the administration arguing that the Chinese government could potentially access the personal data of American users through the app. Fast forward to today, and Trump's team, along with right-wing media, is lauding his supposed leadership in saving TikTok. The app's return comes with effusive praise for Trump, portraying him as a protector of American interests and freedoms. Yet, the irony is glaring. The crisis that led to TikTok's temporary shutdown was entirely of Trump's own making. This selective narrative erases Trump's initial actions and reframes the story to cast him as the hero, a strategy emblematic of his political playbook. The hypocrisy doesn't end with Trump. Prominent right-wing figures who previously supported banning TikTok are now praising its unbanning. Charlie Kirk, for instance, tweeted enthusiastically about Trump saving TikTok and urged Gen Z to pay attention. However, in 2020, Kirk had described TikTok as an evil CCP-compromised app and supported its ban. Similarly, Trump's national security pick, Mike Waltz, who once labeled TikTok as spyware, is now hailing the app as fantastic. These abrupt reversals underscore the cognitive dissonance within right-wing media, where loyalty to Trump often trumps consistency or principle. This shift extends beyond individual commentators. The broader big tech ecosystem has demonstrated a willingness to align with Trump when it suits their interests. TikTok's decision to temporarily shut down and then reopen with public praise for Trump appears calculated to curry favor with the former president. This strategy mirrors the actions of other tech giants like Meta, Amazon, and X, formerly Twitter, whose leaders have engaged in similar performative gestures to appease Trump and secure their business interests. The situation highlights a troubling dynamic in the relationship between big tech and political power. Companies are increasingly willing to rewrite narratives and align with political figures to safeguard their bottom lines. In this case, TikTok's temporary shutdown served less as a practical necessity and more as a performative act designed to generate favorable media coverage and bolster Trump's image. The disruption of service, the notifications, and the ensuing news cycle were all part of a calculated move to frame Trump as a leader who saved TikTok, even though he created the conditions for the shutdown in the first place. The Democrats, meanwhile, bear some responsibility for enabling this narrative. In Congress, Democrats joined Republicans in voting overwhelmingly to support measures targeting TikTok, with little effort to communicate the rationale behind the ban to the public. This lack of persuasive messaging left the door wide open for Trump to frame himself as the solution to a problem he initiated. Furthermore, President Biden's administration has struggled to articulate a coherent position on TikTok, adding to the confusion. Although Biden's team initially indicated they would not enforce Trump's ban, their subsequent actions have been inconsistent, further muddling the narrative. This failure to control the narrative has significant implications. TikTok is immensely popular in the US, with over 170 million users who rely on it for entertainment, information, and even livelihoods. By failing to engage effectively with these users, Democrats allowed Trump to step into the void and claim credit for restoring the app. This outcome was entirely predictable, given Trump's penchant for taking credit for solving problems of his own creation. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, has pointed out a critical issue underlying the TikTok controversy: the lack of comprehensive privacy legislation in the United States. According to AOC, the answer is not just playing endless whack-a-mole with apps. The answer is that we should have real privacy legislation in the United States. She argues that the focus should be on empowering individuals to own and control their personal data, rather than targeting specific apps like TikTok. However, such legislation faces fierce opposition from big tech companies, whose business models rely on the exploitation of user data. This broader context underscores the need for systemic change. The TikTok controversy is just one example of how the absence of robust privacy laws leaves Americans vulnerable to both corporate and governmental overreach. Rather than addressing these structural issues, lawmakers have resorted to performative actions that do little to protect users while enabling political figures like Trump to exploit the situation for personal gain. The rushed nature of the legislative process further exacerbated the problem. When Congress voted to target TikTok, they left little time for a forced sale or other measures to address security concerns. For an app as large as TikTok, finding a buyer and completing a sale within the allotted timeframe was always an unrealistic goal. Now, both the Biden and Trump administrations are grappling with the fallout, attempting to reverse or stall the ban they once supported. This lack of foresight highlights the dysfunction within the legislative process and the consequences of prioritizing short-term political wins over long-term solutions. Ultimately, the TikTok saga reflects a broader trend in American politics: the manipulation of narratives to serve political agendas. Trump's ability to recast himself as the savior of TikTok, despite being the architect of its initial ban, exemplifies this dynamic. At the same time, the willingness of big tech companies to align with Trump's narrative underscores the influence of money and power in shaping public discourse. The solution, as AOC and others have argued, lies in addressing the root causes of these issues. Comprehensive privacy legislation would not only protect users, but also reduce the ability of corporations and politicians to exploit data for their own ends. Until such measures are implemented, the cycle of performative politics and corporate opportunism is likely to continue, leaving ordinary Americans to bear the brunt of the consequences.